So, my friends, I want to talk today about the problem of plastics, how to recycle plastics. There are some confusion that remains on this subject. So let's start by talking about what are plastics. And plastic is a new material, has been around for some 60 years, most after the war. It comes really to Europe. And plastics are hydrocarbon. By that means composed of hydrogen, hydro, and carbons. And they are derived from oil, from fossil oil, which is also hydrocarbon. So plastics are polymers, and they are composed of long chain, like a pure neck, no, of carbon, and each carbon has two hydrogen attached to it. So plastics are hydrocarbon composed of carbon atoms and hydrogen in very long chain. There may be other atoms in the plastics and contaminants, but basically it's carbon and hydrogen. This is important to notice. Other compounds of carbon hydrogens are all biological entities. No, we are composed essentially of carbon and hydrogen, but also all the fruits or the food we eat is most carbon and hydrogen. So why are plastics so important? Plastics is probably the most successful material ever invented by man. And look around you. So many products are plastics, from clothes to your glasses to your ears. Everything is made of plastics. And why so? Because plastics, since they were introduced some 60 years ago, they have substituted all the materials that were there before. And they have done that because they are cheaper to produce, they have much less weight. And this is very important for the discussion that's coming. Much less weight, because weight means also energy to transport that weight. So they reduce the costs of transportations, of cost of fabrication, and that's the reason all the materials that were before were substituted. But what's the problem with plastics? Well, the problem is with plastic is that they are not very easy to recycle. Since they are new materials, nature have not have time to create all the enzymatic machinery that would be necessary to degrade plastics in nature. So basically, in the time frame that we are talking here, plastics are indestructible. They cannot be cut down by the enzymatic process. And for that reason, they are basically not recyclable. There are a few options for recycling plastics, like people say, okay, we can reuse, but it's also limited, the reuse of plastic. Most plastics were produced for being single use. That is not by greedy. This is because the clients needs that for some functionality, like increased protection of the material, like safety, whatever the reasons, they need the plastics to be single use, not to contaminate the samples or to contaminate the public, whatever. So most of the plastics are single use plastics. There are multi-use plastics, but most of them are single use. So how can we do again? How can we do to think about the recycling of those materials? We have to go back to their structure. We have here a material composed of carbon and hydrogen. Now, carbon and hydrogen have been around for billions of years. Hydrogen were formed during the Big Bang for uh, 13.8 billion years ago, and a few billion years later, in the explosion of supernova, carbon was formed. And this is the whole hydrogen and carbon that you have in the universe, as this orange. Nothing has been created since then. And those materials, they have been recycled. So nature has been recycled. We recycle those materials. When we eat food, we are recycling the food, the fish, the carrot we eat in ourselves. So this is a way of recycling as well. But of course, plastic, as I said, nature has not have time to deal with that material. So we need a solution. And fortunately, there are solutions. The solution is chemical recycling. Chemical recycling is breaking down the plastics to its constituents. And which are these constituents? We just spoke about carbon and hydrogen. When we break down the plastics to carbon and hydrogen, then of course we have the unit of the material and we can reshuffle it. We can reassemble it. That is the way chemical recycling proposed. And it works. You can test that in the labs, you can test that in any scale, and you're going to see it work. It has not been implemented because the problem was not posed before. Now, the chemical industry, the plastic industry, the public, everybody's aware of the problem. And now everybody's engaged in solving this problem. This was not before. 10 years ago, it was very difficult to talk about this subject. I know because I was there trying to do exactly that. It was very difficult. But now it's no difficult anymore because people accept that we need to do something. And I have been proposing this 20 years already. So, how can we do that? Well, there are older technologies. I will talk about a technology that has been invented for 200 years ago. 200 years. It is only newer than steam engine. The steam engine is 250 years ago. And the technology I'm talking is gasification. 200 years. So people have been gasifying all the kinds of materials. It started by gasifying coal, no, to produce the gas that was then called street gas. That gas, street gas, it was a dirty gas because the technology was 200 years ago. So that dirty gas was essentially composed of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. This is what we call syngas, carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Make notice, carbon monoxide, not dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the product of incineration. This is another way to get rid of plastics. The problem of incineration is that it produces CO2. That is exactly what you want to avoid if you want to decarbonize. You don't want to have emissions of CO2. So we cannot do incineration, although there is no discussion. Incineration works. Everybody knows that plastics burn, but we don't want to burn plastics because of the CO2 production. If you don't want to to burn the plastics, if you want to really recycle the plastic, use the material as feedstock to new materials without using fossil, then the technology at hand, which I always been proposing, is gasification. Gasification is a partial oxidation. Very important to note, is a partial. You take the material, the carbonaceous material, can be coal, can be biomass, can be plastics, react with oxygen, O. You react C with O. And the products of that is CO, which is carbon and oxygen together, that's carbon monoxide, and the other is hydrogen. Both are gases. Hydrogen is now everybody's looking for hydrogen as the energy or the transfer of energy of the future, people say. And carbon monoxide is a toxic gas, so it's toxic for humans for several reasons. You cannot breathe it. You die if you breathe it. It's very dangerous for that reason. Carbon monoxide, but it's different from carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is inert. When you produce carbon dioxide by burning the material, you can do not with carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is totally inert. It will not react. It has no energy for any other product. Carbon monoxide, on the other side, is a very active, a very energetic gas. That is why it burns. Carbon dioxide, you know, it doesn't burn. It is using in fire extinguishers because it doesn't burn. But carbon monoxide burns very well. So you have carbon monoxide and hydrogen, two gases that can be used for new synthesis, can be used for new process. So syngas is a commodity in the chemical industry. A lot of process in the chemical industry uses variations of syngas, most of it coming from natural gas, which is also a fossil gas. But it's totally possible to produce a syngas from biomass, to produce syngas from plastics. And this is the way that has been around for so long time. It's not new. Everybody knows that, but people have to revisit it, to remember that we have a solution for plastics in the chemical structures of the plastics. So plastics can be converted almost quantitatively, completely to syngas. And from syngas, you can use syngas as a thermal gas, but if you burn the syngas, you will have CO2. You oxidize the CO to CO2. We don't want to do that, so it's not to be used to be burned. But you can use the syngas for chemistry, just as a feedstock to the chemical industry. And what the chemical industry can do with syngas? Everything. Everything. The easiest thing to do is separate the CO from the hydrogen, and then you have hydrogen, which people is looking for. It's a very valuable commodity, and CO. What you do with CO? CO is the basis for the production for the carbonylations reactions in chemistry. You can use to produce methanol. You can use to produce acetates, and so on. And from that, you can do the whole chemistry. You can produce medicines. You can produce new plastics. And that's it. You can convert syngas to existing process, nothing new. The chemical industry use those processes today. They know very well. One of the process is called gas to liquid or gas to methanol, GTM, no, or GTL. And GTL is gas to liquid, and then you produce methanol with that. And the other is MTO, methanol to olefin, and you produce then olefin. Olefins are the monomers, the units of plastics. So by using syngas and by using the chemical technology available for conversion of syngas into plastics, we can solve. And why is that important? Because this is totally in line with circular economy. You take plastics and instead of throwing it away in a linear economy or burning it, because burning is not recycling. When you burn it, you destroy the material. You can produce new material with the quality that it had before, with the virgin quality, but not using fossil oil or fossil gas, really using only the plastic, keeping the plastics in the loop. By doing so, you are very much within the tenets of a circular economy. That is what we want to do. So I hope I have explained in a way you understand, but you can write in the comments if you have any questions regarding that, how to convert plastics to new plastics. And that would be overseeing gas and chemically recycling it to new plastics. I thank you for listening to that.